Hello everybody, Peter here from the Esoteric Order of Gamers, and today I'm looking at Darktide, the miniatures game by Games Workshop. Well, I got a notification from Games Workshop that they were sending me Darktide, the miniatures game, and I thought, what is that? I've never heard of Darktide. What is this strange new thing? They sent me this for free, by the way, but I don't charge for these videos and my opinions are always my own. So anyway, I got this box in the mail and it was pretty hacked up. Look at that. Oh no, it was wet. There's no shrink wrapping, there was no padding, it was just stuck in a box and the box got wet and so this all got wet. So this is the first time I've received something damaged from Games Workshop. It's rather sad. Thank goodness it was this game though. No, this kind of game has its place, I guess. This is the kind of game which is designed to introduce new players to the Warhammer world and the Warhammer 40,000 world in particular, and also to drag players from the video game sphere into the miniatures gaming sphere. Because Darktide is a video game, apparently. I'd never heard of it. I haven't played it. It's only available on PC and Xbox, and I've got a PlayStation, so I've never tried it out. But basically it's a first-person shooter, and it's set in an underhive, the same kind of background as Necromunda, and basically you're killing lots of traitor guardsmen and also poxwalkers, the sort of zombie-like Nurgle things. And you've got four main characters doing that. So let's have a look what you get inside. Anyway, there's the box. Hopefully you'll get one that isn't damaged if you buy this. Now, I've unpacked some of this already, so these things are sort of shrink wrapped and stuff like the cards, etc. But you've got a whole bunch of cards here. These are activation cards. This has got a card draw activation system. I'll tell you about the rules later, but it won't take long because they're pretty easy. You've got a bunch of equipment cards and upgrade cards. You can upgrade your main characters. Here are the reference sheets for the different characters. So you've got, as I said, 4 characters. You can have 2 to 4 people playing. So if you have 2 people that have 2 characters each, 3, who knows, one person has 2. You've got to have all 4 characters, basically. They don't specifically say that in the rule book. For some reason, they just miss that completely. They say it's 2 to 4 players and there are 4 characters, and then they just kind of assume that you know that you're going to play all of them. Because I can't see any mechanisms for scaling this to a different number of characters. Anyway, so you've got 4 characters, as I said. The Psyker, the Zealot, the Ogryn, and the Veteran. And then you've got all the bad guys, the Mobian Troopers, Gunners, Sharpshooter, Chieftain, Commsman, and then your horrible Poxwalkers. So you can see it's pretty basic stuff. You've got name of the weapon, attacks, which is the number of dice you roll, your 2-hit number, the damage you do on a normal hit and a critical hit, and any special rules. And there's a very simple behavior chart. Basically, this option, then the next option, then the next option. You go through the list until you find the option that you can carry out. And there are usually 2 things that each bad guy does as you pick one of those options. Super, super simple. A couple of little things that frustrated me. These wound markers, very easy to move and lose track of where you're supposed to be pointing to. Also, when you're shooting, you get to roll 3 dice in defense. And for these operatives, the good guys, you have to roll a 4 or above. That isn't marked anywhere on the sheet. And for the bad guys, you need a 5 or above. And it's not marked on their sheets either. So with all this space, I think they could have fit that on there somewhere. You have some 6-sided dice. You've got some nice counters. These are cover on the yellow side of the hex. Red ones are impassable terrain. You've got some wound counters, some condition counters, things like that. And then finally some boards, which are kind of drab, I have to say. Pretty basic. They're just hex boards. Nothing very interesting about them. You can set them up in various configurations depending on the scenario you play. But, of course, you have miniatures, and I've built them already. And what are they doing there? They're from Conquest. Take those out. There we go, not so impressive now. No, you have a nice selection of miniatures. There's a decent amount here. You've got your 4 main characters. So, here's your Ogryn guy. Nice, big, chunky miniature, that one. I like him. It's very nice. Here's the veteran. I'm assuming all these miniatures have been released before and they're just repurposed for this game, but I'm not sure. This one looks a bit familiar, the Zealot. Or maybe I've just seen lots of characters holding huge flamers. And the Psycho. I don't think I've seen this character before, so, you know, maybe these were made specially for this game. But they're nice figures. We've got a bunch of guardsmen of various types. As I said, traitor guardsmen. So these have been corrupted and are basically the standard bad guys. But there are different types, different weapons. So you could use these in Warhammer 40k as well, I presume. It's a nice selection. I mean, this is really geared towards younger and more inexperienced players, though building these was like building your normal figures, so it wasn't incredibly simple. They say you could build them without glue. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But they were, you know, a normal level of complexity for people who are used to miniatures games, but for a brand new player, I think it would be a little bit daunting. But these are a nice bunch of guardsmen and lots of variety. And I noticed there were some pieces left on the sprue as well, so you could probably do your own variations if you wished. And then we've got 6 of these poxwalkers, which are nice. And in fact, some of these, I think it was this figure, is just one piece. So this just pops right out of the sprue, which is kind of funny when you're sitting there carefully putting arms and legs and all the weapons and things on a miniature and building it all together, and then you see, oh, hold on, they can't just put all one miniature just in one go. I don't have to build it out of a gazillion pieces. But these have a nice bit of character. So it's a generous number of miniatures, and the production, of course, is excellent all through. What have they done rules-wise? Is there anything interesting about this game that would make you want to buy it? Well, no, not really. I think it's great as what will probably be a very expensive gift. I don't know what the retail is for this yet. For beginners and people who haven't really got into miniatures before. And as I said, if you played the computer game and you think, oh, what's this miniatures business about? In the rulebook, they try and push it as being a simple version of Kill Team. It's not really, apart from the fact that there are normal hits and critical hits. It doesn't use the cover system of Kill Team or anything more complex than that. So I wouldn't really call it a particular introduction to Kill Team. It's much more like the Hero Quest type games like Blackstone Fortress. This reminded me of Blackstone Fortress more than anything. And you know, I've always found cooperative gaming and miniatures gaming a really uncomfortable fit. The whole joy of playing a miniatures game is that you don't know what your other opponent is going to do. So when you just have a sequence of AI instructions, and I use AI very loosely, of course, there's some very basic instructions here. Fight and pass, move and fight, move and pass. That's basically it for the poxwalkers anyway. When you have that kind of basic instruction, it just devolves into a rolling and shooting and killing kind of game, and it's just not very engaging. You move the enemy forward and you do a little melee combat. The poxwalkers are the melee guys, the other guys are the ranged guys, and you go forward and you do your little attacks. And sure, over a sequence of games you can add a few upgrade cards and things like that, but it really just changes the numbers you need to roll and the damage you do, and it's just not engaging stuff. Now, of course, I'm talking from the perspective of a tired old miniatures gamer who's been playing miniatures games for decades. So, of course, this is not going to engage me. And if I put myself in the head of a 12-year-old again, I guess I'd be really, really excited by this. So I've got to keep that in mind, don't I? So there we have it, Darktide, the miniatures game. Unfortunately, nothing surprising or particularly interesting about this release. It really is just a licensing cash-in. If you want to get hold of the miniatures, you might want to grab a copy. But apart from that, I wouldn't really go here for gameplay unless you're a person who is just getting interested in the world. But even then, I don't know, maybe you should just jump straight to a Kill Team set or something like that. This is very basic and I don't think is going to keep you amused for too long. Though it might be a good way to realise whether this type of gaming is for you or isn't for you. I completely understand why Games Workshop brings out these kind of sets. They want to get new players into the hobby. What they should really do, though, is release them and make them really cheap so people can buy them and then get suckered in and get dragged into the whole miniatures gaming thing, and then realise with horror how expensive the whole hobby is. Maybe it's sort of letting you know straight away that this isn't going to be cheap, folks. It's a satisfying, interesting, exciting, absorbing hobby, but it ain't cheap. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the website at orderofgamers.com. Check out my social media channels and even support me on Patreon if you want. Bye for now.